Welcome to another episode of the RedZone Podcast. I'm your host, Emmanuel Pointiger, and today we are going to be recapping the 32-24 Stampeders victory over the Hamilton Tiger Cats. We're going to be getting into some positives about the game and some negatives. We'll also be getting into how Bo Levi played and a lot of other Ticats notes. But first, let's get started with the quarterback, Jake Maier, and he was pretty impressive on the night. One of his best games of his career. 21 for 26, 252 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and a 132.7 passer rating. Just incredible. On play action, he was just deadly. 7 for 8, 111 yards, 1 touchdown, and a perfect passer rating at 158.3. And that's what impressed me the most. Getting out of the pocket and throwing on play action down. He had a pass to, I think, Mark and Michelle. He had a pass to Cam Eccles in the end zone, and we'll get to him. And I think maybe Reggie Beggleton, but he had some impressive throws off of play action, and maybe that's something that we have to continue to do is to, use way more play action, because in the first game, it definitely worked. And it's not like on non-play action plays, he didn't do well. 14 of 18, 141 yards, 99.3 QBR. So not bad at all. The entire game, Jake Maier looked way better than he did last year. He just looked calm. He was getting the footballs out very, very just efficiently, and I thought he had a very good game. Getting to Dedrick Mills now, who I thought looked just as Dedrick Mills looked all of last year, pretty good. He had some strong runs. He finished with 13 carries for 87 yards. Cam Eccles Looper on that receiving core and Clark Barnes, they really impressed. They both had a touchdown on the game. Paredes was 6 for 6 on field goals. He hit from 42, 52, 25, 43, 37, and 37. So he was phenomenal. He keeps getting better with age. Aging like a fine wine indeed for Renee. Getting to some negatives on Stamson, and there wasn't too much, but there was still some. Stamps had one too many field goals in the first half. Again, 6 field goals. That's probably a little too much for their liking. They were still up 19-7 at halftime, but I would have liked that number to be around 2 or 3, and making sure some of those drives were ending in touchdowns and not field goals. Because if you do that against Winnipeg or BC or one of these top teams, Montreal, you could get yourself in trouble with scoring threes. And we had some very good drives that stalled there at the end. We got to make sure we are finishing those drives with 6 points. And the last point is we have to shore up that run defense. James Butler ran wild on the Stampeders, 13 carries for 119 yards. It's not like we don't play a very good quarterback in week 2. We play William Stanback of BC. So that's going to be really important to really get under 100, not 119 on 13 carries. That's just too much. You can't allow that. So that's something we are going to have to stop if we want to win next week in BC. Getting to how the Hamilton Tiger Cats played, Bo Levi Mitchell, overall I think in his return he played pretty well. There was some overthrown passes, some drops by receivers that's going to have to get fixed, because even Tim White, I think, dropped a pass, and that is uncommon. But yeah, they have to really get that together, because I thought they had a good amount of dropped passes. The Tiger Cats had too many men penalties in the first half. One to start the game, the first play of the game, they had a too many men penalty. I don't know how that's possible. And then I think later in the first half, they also had one. So that's probably coaching that, needs to get fixed there. But you just can't have that in the first game. You have to know how many men are on the field, especially on offense. I saw that the Ticats offense was running a lot of double cadence, probably a Scott Milenovich system thing that they run over there. It wasn't always on the first snap. It was rarely on the first snap. It was always slot backs, returning kind of a reset, and then going on the second cadence. So that's one thing that I observed on the Ticats end. And then James Butler, we talked about him. He ran really, really well. 13 carries, 119 yards. And that was really a question of if they're going to get the running game going, if they're going to pass a lot with Bo Levi. And they kind of did a good mix of both. I thought Bo Levi threw for about 300 yards, and then you had James Butler run for 119. Didn't get a touchdown because they kind of stalled as well at the end of their drives, but he was great as usual. James Butler, a really good back. I nearly forgot about Demario Houston having an interception on Bo Levi Mitchell. I don't know how I forgot that, but good to see him getting interceptions as he did last year in Winnipeg, picking off Bo Levi off of an overthrow by Bo and return it for a good amount of yards. I think about 20 yards. So that was good to see. Good to see him getting right back on track where he left off in Winnipeg. Now let's get to our mini preview of the Calgary Stampeders Week 2 matchup in BC to face the Lions. And there was a big headline, obviously, with the 50 Cent performing before the game and then over 50,000 in attendance during the game. It's going to be a huge, huge crowd there in BC Place. And getting to the game now, and I think a big thing to watch for this game is that offensive line of BC and how they perform down in the trenches. Now, the Calgary Stampeders can win that battle. I think they have a chance to win this game because you look at what Toronto did last week and their defensive line getting to VA, pressuring him, and ultimately sacking him for a loss. That was big time and a reason why they won that game. Not allowing him much time in the pocket and keeping him inside that pocket because, Vernon, he likes to run. He likes to get out of the pocket. So making sure that we bring pressures with our linebackers or, defensive backs and bring pressure, make VA have to get the ball out quickly. But that'll do it for this episode of the RedZone Podcast. Let me know your thoughts down below. How do you think the Stampeders played in Week 1? And what do you expect here for Week 2 against the BC Lions? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. But that'll do it. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and we will see you on the next episode. Peace.